can't talk about our funding activities, it looks like absolutely we've done nothing for a year. Trust me, we've been working our behinds off.
Hey, what's going on, my Elio friends? This is Joker88. We have another episode of Let's Talk Elio. Well, Paul Elio is in the news. He's back over in Louisiana talking to the parish regarding what is Elio been up to. So, I got a couple of clips here. This is from one of our viewers sent me a copy of this, and let's kind of break it down. Here we go.
All year, right? And we were very close to having it solved once or twice. But because we can't disclose all that, from the outside it looks like there's no lights on, and I get that frustration. The only thing I can say to counteract that is we didn't give up. I think there's a lot of folks, a lot of companies that would have said, well, we tried, and we have not given up. We have an incredibly tenacious team. And like I said,
okay, so I hope you guys don't mind. I'm just going to be playing some video clips from, different Elio clips while I talk over it, right? Because the last thing I want is, when we're watching a video and then somebody just kind of like talking over it. That's not what I want. So anyways, what did you guys think about that one? That was kind of, he's saying that they cannot really disclose a lot of things because of, the SEC requirements and stuff like that. I think there's ways that they can drop some hints for the, for the people on some sort of, what's going on. And what is he talking about? Lights off. Well, yeah, lights off. I went to your place and the lights were off. So, anyways, let's keep on going.
Do you think your visit today will help show that?
I don't know. I think that at this point it's going to take more successes before people lose their frustration. You know what I mean? Like, we're making a beginning and the conversation's starting again. But I honestly, I think we owe a few more successes before that frustration will subside in a meaningful way.
Will you have equipment at the plant to actually manufacture the cars? Because from my understanding, it's all been sold off.
No, so there was a lot of equipment at that facility. Some of it didn't fit our footprint, some was too big, some of it was obsolete. Everything that is there that would build an Elio is still there, ready to build an Elio. We believe that, I'll just leave it at that.
They wanted the plant because of all of the equipment in it, and it was a turnkey operation. Well, since that time, they have sold everything out of the plant, and the plant is completely empty. There's not a single thing in there.
Pardon me, Matthew. When you say everything, you mean literally everything. If I go out there right now, it's nothing but there will be an echo to beat the band.
You are correct. There would be an echo to beat the band. There is nothing in the building.
Matthew, we got this back in 2011, 2012.
2013.
2013.
January 2013.
2011, 2012.
Well, yeah, I personally invested in 2011.
That's what I'm getting at.
and
so
others.
You did that. So now, here it is, 2018, and still no product. And you already said $700 million in reservations.
If you take 65,000 and, like I said, do an average product mix of standard to automatic, because automatics are more expensive,
right?
And then we add our options after you purchase the vehicle. You make a reasonable assumption on the number of average options. And multiply that times 65,000, you get 700 million.
Well, if that's the case, then and you still owe, you say you still need about $750 million.
No, that'd be 750 billion. No,
I said $750 million, which would be about,
that'd be 750 million. We don't need anywhere near
you
three quarters.
That. You need 376 million.
That's the publicly disclosed number, and as I said, we've made some strategic partnerships that will bring that down. I hope to be able to announce those in the next month or two.
Has the design changed significantly, comparable to current product that is proposed by other manufacturers such as Sondor Electric?
So I think that our design is modern, absolutely. It has the same parts on it as any current production vehicle. That's one of the things about Elio Motors is there's no new technology on this vehicle. So every part already exists in the supply base from the names that I was listing off, and we're putting them together in a unique way. So,
But there are new products that have come online since the announcement, and there's new design products. Sondor is releasing their vehicle in the $10,000 range in 2019. It will be delivered. Where will Elio compare to a product such as that?
well, I think we're superior. You know, at $7,500 and 84 miles per gallon, and there's lots of gas stations around, I think it's a
Theirs is 100% electric.
Exactly. That's my point. So at 84 miles per gallon and $7,500, that value proposition is superior, and there's a lot of infrastructure for gas cars.
Yeah, but the problem is though is that I hear that your engine is not really working pretty well. Your internal combustion engine. So, interesting.
So, and one other thing, are you meeting with any other commissioners and with the Caddo Parish Commission? And a follow-up to that, if you will, have they been asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement?
Yes. So in order to give a better update to the commissioners, I can only speak under NDA, otherwise it's the questions that I can answer here. So that I'm answering what I can publicly here, and those who are interested in knowing more need to sign a non-disclosure, and I can give a little bit more of the story.
Tell us again the reason for the secrecy.
SEC rules primarily. So when you're a publicly traded company and you're doing fundraising, there's a lot of rules on what you can and cannot say publicly.
So just to confirm, you said production is set to begin in a little over 70 weeks. You know, that's when we can see those 1,500 jobs coming to Caddo Parish.
Correct.
How safe are these cars?
We've designed it to the highest automotive safety standards. So it has 3 airbags front and 2 side. It's like the safety sensors are from Bosch. It's all mainstream stuff that's out in production. We've spent an enormous amount of time in crash simulation to make sure that this vehicle will be very, very safe. The next step of the project as we ramp up is we'll complete the E-Series build that we began. We built 3, we're going to build another 20. We'll run a total of 92 tests on those 20 vehicles. The last one of those tests on each vehicle is destructive, so sadly none of the 20 will remain. But we intend to do front side and rear impact twice. So 6 of those vehicles will in their life cycle in crash tests.
So it's about 70 or so weeks till production starts. When do you expect to see the first car hit the road?
Well, that's first saleable vehicle. So we'll build, I believe, 150 prototypes between now and then. So there'll be a lot of Elios running around before then. But that's first saleable vehicle to the public. It's 76 weeks.
Give us the name of the investment company that's going to be backing you with the big money.
Jones Trading, and that was in our press release. I think it was April 24th. They were named.
When will Jones Trading go to market with their STOs?
Soon. So there again, that's where I really can't talk much about what's going on there. So we've announced that we're doing an STO. The process and what our token looks like, all that is not disclosed yet. And so I apologize that I'm going to advise that question.
Are you still awaiting final regulatory approval on that? You said it's not regulated.
No, it is regulated. So we are choosing to be regulated. So you're right, we could do an ICO and do this unregulated and move much faster. Instead, we're going to treat this as a security, and that's why we call it, to differentiate that between the ICOs, we're calling it an STO. And yes, we're following all the same rules as if it were a stock.
So are you still waiting for regulators to bless it?
So like I said, I can't really talk about the timing on this, but watch in the coming weeks, and there should be some good information coming out.
Non-disclosure agreements, here with meeting with people in secrecy and understanding that you are facing all of these things. $700 million is the estimated money you could get in. Technically, you don't have that money, right?
No, yeah, no, if I implied that, I didn't mean to. No, we do not have that money.
Okay, so you only have about 115 million?
Well, that's what we spent so far on the project, yes.
Okay.
How much of that 115 million came from sales of assets at the former GM plant?
Fraction. A few million. I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Mr.
Okay.
Elio, why do you
So-
believe so much in
Yes.
this product?
Well, I believe this project has to happen. It has an incredible impact to our country. You know, first is the jobs. You know, we're targeting 90% North American content. Last time we rolled it up, we were at 87%. So I won't guarantee we'll hit 90, but it'll be a number we can be proud of. And if you take the jobs here, the jobs in the supply base, and then the economic development folks typically give you 6 in the community for every direct manufacturing job, you know, restaurants, barbers, that kind of thing. We'll create 20,000 new American jobs over the next year and a half. That's a meaningful number. After 5 years of sales, we can reduce total U.S. gas consumption by nearly 0.5%. Total U.S. gas consumption. That's more than the entire electric car industry. And we can do that all by ourselves because of the price point, we can put a tremendous number of these on the road. And lastly, and this one doesn't jump out at you, if you're struggling in this country, your biggest issue is mobility. There's a Harvard economist that did a study a couple of years ago that showed that mobility was the #1 predictor on whether you get out of poverty or not. It correlated better than test grades in your grade schools, the #2 parent households, or crime rates. The #1 predictor was mobility. Jersey did a study where they claimed that 60% of their chronically unemployed have had to turn down jobs because they couldn't get to the job. And at $7,500 and 84 miles per gallon, you can get to your job. So that's why I don't give up. This project has to happen. It makes too much impact to too many folks.
Thank you, Mr. Elio. Each of you, I thank you for coming out this morning. Once again, the parish deserves to have contact with the Elio project. I know that with it being in my district, that my constituents and all citizens do. I thank Mr. Elio for coming out today. I thank you for coming out today. And my commitment is that we will continue to stay abreast of the project, get as much information as we can, and to respectfully bring it to the citizens of Caddo Parish. Lastly, I am not representing the parish on today. I'm representing my district as a commissioner in which the GM plant sits, and that's why I called the press conference on today.
Louis?
Yes, sir.
Final thought.
Yes, sir.
You called the press conference. He's already indicated he's going to be meeting with other commissioners.
That's correct, sir.
All right, is he going to be meeting with you?
Yes, sir, that is
Are
correct.
you going to sign an NDA?
Yes, sir, I am.
How many do you know that are going to be, he will meet with, and how long will he be here?
I'm not sure how, he will be here throughout the meeting. I'm not sure how many other commissioners. I know each commissioner is aware of it and has been invited. So I cannot speak for the other commissioners, but I can say that I am going to be at the meeting. I have signed an NDA. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have regarding that. And that becomes a point of contention with quite a few of our citizens, and I understand that. But the reason I am signing a non-disclosure agreement is because I was elected to represent the citizens of my district. And if I'm going to do that, I need to do it from a position of strength. Position of strength is to get as much information as I can about what's happening in that particular district as relates to that project. And so by signing the NDA, I put myself in a position to know what's going on and then to have an informed position as opposed to having opinions or as opposed to doing interviews and not having any information as to what's going on. So, and it's not uncommon. I did a little research. It's not uncommon to sign NDAs when you're talking about multi-million-dollar projects and doing business with companies. So I'm doing it with the greatest degree of respect and integrity, but I'm doing it so that I can be informed and thereby make sure that my citizens and the people I represent have information as well.
But we are not under a transparent rule with that, correct?
What do you mean by that?
Is that in signing the NDA, you cannot explain transparency to the people what was talked about.
I cannot disclose that non-disclosed information, obviously. I can't say whether I think it's positive or negative, whether I'm encouraged or discouraged, and that information will give me that information. But obviously, if it's a non-disclosure, I cannot disclose that information, sir. Any other questions at all?
What did you think of Mr. Elio's comments today?
Well, personally, I'm not here to represent Mr. Elio. I'm not here to represent the parish. But since you asked the question, I'm encouraged that he came back to our city. I'm encouraged that he came before the parish to answer those questions that you might have. And I'm also encouraged that the project is moving forward. That's my personal opinion about it.
You said your constituents have come to you with their own questions and concerns. What have those been?
It's not uncommon that people in Caddo, hey man, what's going on with the GM plant? Hey, what's happening with the Elio project? Those are questions that I get. And primarily because it's in my district, I assume I might get more than others. And with that being the case, the last time that Mr. Elio came in for a press conference, it was because I was being asked questions that I could not answer. And so I tried to identify who can answer those questions the best. And the answer is Paul Elio. And after speaking to him and asking him to come in, he did. And at that time, he acknowledged that he had not communicated as effectively as he should have with this area, with our community, and committed that he would do a better job. And so he's back here today doing that. So I'm encouraged for that reason.
Was it hard to convince him to come back to Shreveport?
He was excited about coming back. So it was not at all hard to convince him to come back. Matter of fact, he suggested that we align our calendars, get with the media. So it was really his suggestion that he would come back.
How do you hope citizens react to his visit?
I'm sorry?
How do you hope people react to his visit?
Well, you know, everyone has their opinions and they have the right to their opinions. I think that not only do I move forward from a position of strength by being informed, I think that the citizens do as well. So I think that there are those who would appreciate the fact that he did come back. But he has acknowledged that what they need and what we need now is, as the country song would say, a little less words and a lot more action as relates to moving forward. But I think that's what we're looking at doing, as I appreciate it.
We're talking to Matthew Lynn, Caddo Commissioner. Last time Paul Elio came to town, he had these secret meetings. I don't know if they were secret, but with different Caddo commissioners, you had to sign a non-disclosure agreement and all that sort of thing. Do you know, have you heard, is anything like that happening this time?
I was asked if I would sign a non-disclosure, and I said, no way.
Was this time or last time? I'm sorry.
This time.
Really?
So he may be having similar meetings this time as well.
That's very possible. I cannot say that he is, and I cannot say that he is not. All I can say is that I was asked if I would sign one, and I said no.
By whom? Who asked you that?
A fellow commissioner.
Okay, gotcha.
So the what I infer from that, or maybe just what you're saying outright, is there are other commissioners other than yourself who are, for lack of a better term, more in the loop with this Elio visit than are you. Why are they? Why are you not?
Well, I would have to say it's, sort of like casting out a hook with some bait on it, and that I was smart enough not to bite the hook again, at least. And even before, I had a lot of questions that were not answered, and was told by everybody, trust in the contract that the parish administrator is going to sign, for which I never did. And the contract that was ultimately signed actually penalized anybody from moving in there. The contract that is signed between Caddo Parish and Shreveport Business Park, which is 100% owned by Stuart Lichter, that contract penalizes Stuart Lichter for selling or renting that building before November of this year. And so in November of this year, the contract is 100% over, which means that they could sell that and Stuart Lichter would get to keep 100% of the profit that he made. Prior to that, he would have to split that profit with the parish. And so the property was sat on with no action, to the detriment of the citizens of Caddo Parish looking for a high-paying job at that property. And I put the largest aspect of the blame on Racer Trust, where Racer Trust was charged by the president and the representatives that represent us in Washington to take these plants and put them in the hands of a company that would immediately occupy them and employ all of the people and more that the previous General Motors plant had employed. And that was the charge given to Racer Trust, for which Racer Trust delivered us Elio Motors on a silver platter, and we said no, and then they coupled it with Shreveport Business Park, Stuart Lichter, and the commissioners bought into it. And I salute Stephanie Lynch, that she was hitting the nail on the head from day one, and we should have listened to her more.
Let me take your bait analogy to an even greater extreme. The first time when the first deal came around X number of years ago, were we just a bunch of suckers?
Absolutely.
Matthew,
How did that happen? What was the bill of goods? Bring everybody up to date in a sort of an abridged form, if you can, with what happened and how the whole thing came to be.
Well, there was a vote in negotiation of the contract, and so the contract that was going to come forth, none of the commissioners, it's my understanding that none of the commissioners were actually able to read the contract, and as Stephanie Lynch stated earlier, the devil is in the details. The contract that was signed was a bad contract for Caddo Parish. The contract that was signed allowed them to take non-movables, and so Caddo Parish property owned by the citizens of Caddo Parish, and then sell that property for profit for them to keep, which materialized for which they actually bought off the chance of being sued for doing that with $100,000 to the Caddo Parish Industrial Development Board, and that money, of course, went back to the parish. The contract came before the parish commission, not the contract, but the concept of the contract, in the form that we wanted the parish administrator to execute this contract, and that the parish commissioners would not be able to see the contract. And so here's this contract between Shreveport Business Park, 100% owned by Stuart Lichter, who is a major shareholder in Elio Motors.
You bet.
And it came before the commission, and they said, we want the parish administrator to be able to do this contract, read this contract, agree to this contract without any of the commissioners reading it. And I voted hell no, where a few other commissioners voted no, but ultimately it passed, and the contract was signed by our parish administrator. And I have repeatedly said that was the worst contract I've ever seen. It penalized the renter. It penalized Shreveport Business Park for putting a Range Rover in there. Mm-hmm. It penalized the way that the contract was written is that if the building had been sold, let's just say, had Range Rover bought that property from Shreveport Business Park, because it was Shreveport Business Park's under their control at that point. Had they bought that, Shreveport Business Park would have had to have split the profit from that sale with Caddo Parish. Whereas if that had not been in there, if we had flip-flopped that and said, okay, if you don't get this thing sold or occupied in 3 years, then you have to start paying us back. It would have incentivized Shreveport Business Park, which was given control of this, which was the company that was delivered to us on a silver platter with Elio by Racer Trust, which of course I point the bulk of the blame on Racer Trust for force-feeding us a bad deal.
Matthew, is there any chance in November, when this deal is up, the parish can get that property back?
Oh, the parish could get that property back right now. There's no doubt about it. We could have gotten that property back many times for ill intent for Shreveport Business Park not following through with their end of the deal.
Why don't we? Why don't we?
Because there's not enough votes on the commission to do it. My vote is there. I'm confident in saying that Commissioner Stephen Jackson's vote is there to do that. But until the citizens rally behind the idea that we can do better and call their fellow commissioners or the commissioners that represent them and truly get to the bottom of what has happened in this bad deal, then nothing will happen. I mean, you know, they say 7 votes will turn a dog into a cat. And so with the majority vote, we could take that property back and give it to, for instance, the Port Commission for them to operate it, because they are technically the only entity that's designed to develop that property. They are the entity that should have had it in the first place instead of the Caddo Parish Commission.
Wow, what did you guys think of that, man? It's pretty nuts, right? Well, it could be positive or negative. you know, right now though, I'm still feeling a little bit, you know, unsure, you know, with what's going on. So I guess only time will tell again, and we've been saying this for so many years. Only time will tell. And if you listen to Commissioner Lynn, I mean, it started off pretty badly in regards to the GM facility, right? And if you look at the contract, you know, yes, they're sitting on, they're going to be penalized if they do rent it out to someone else. That's why when we were calling, me as a representative of SAM of USA, we didn't get any call back, because if that happens, you know, Stuart Lichter and his crew are going to get penalized for it. So it ends this November, right? Their contract, which means if they do sell that plant, it sounds like Stuart Lichter is the one that's gonna cash in big time, you know. So from what I'm gathering, man, this whole thing just reeks of greed, right? And using Elio as a you know, a scapegoat, or you know, someone to stand in. That's just too bad. Well, anyways, guys, hopefully you know, we can get some positive news in the future. And I do thank you for watching the video. And I know it's kind of long, but you know, there's a lot of good information out there. And you know, like we haven't seen Mr. Elio in such a long time. Maybe I will drop by and say hello again at his offices. Maybe he'll be there at this time. Alright guys, so have a great week. And for all you moms out there, happy Mother's Day. And then for those of you who haven't talked to your mom in a while, you know what? Give mom a call. Moms are awesome. Anyways, have a great week. I will talk to you later. This is Joker88.